If you could choose to see other people's trauma, would you? Homunculus by Hideo Yamamoto is a manga that explores this idea, and it's a manga that in many ways read me. It's by and large one of the most interesting manga I've ever read, and after rereading it about 2 or 3 times, there's still a ton of stuff I probably missed. It's a story that could be differently interpreted by anybody who reads it, just depending on the mood that you're in. If the name Hideo Yamamoto sounds familiar to you, then you've probably read or seen the movie adaptation of Ichi the Killer. His way of storytelling excels at very human stories, exploring the minds of the characters and fleshing them out. Ichi is a very physical manga, exploring human depravity through violence. Homunculus forgoes the over-the-top violence of Ichi the Killer in order to give a more grounded experience. The story follows Susumu Nakoshi, a homeless man disillusioned with responsibility and identity on the search for self-discovery. But in a lot of ways, he's also on a path of self-destruction. Due to a set of circumstances, Nakoshi undergoes a medical procedure called trepanation. The process involves drilling a tiny hole in your skull in order to relieve blood flow and possibly awaken a sixth sense. He starts to see people's homunculi. These homunculi are the truest versions of ourselves, stripped away from societal standards and norms. They are representations of you and your deepest problems within. It's kind of like We Live. For most of the story, he's going around helping people as some sort of supernatural therapist. Even 7 months after I've read it, this manga's concept fascinates me. Using a real, historic medical procedure as a central piece of the plot is so utterly creative, I love it. A main character who can see trauma, like, who comes up with this? Yamamoto, to make the story more accurate, purposefully became homeless and lived with them for about 6 months to make the story more accurate. That is dedication to your craft. It's unfair to say that this manga is ahead of its time because there's still nothing like it. Homunculus largely introduced me to the genre of psychological horror, which is defined by its focus on mental, emotional, and psychological states to frighten, disturb, or unsettle the audience. And as you can probably imagine, a story about discovering and uncovering trauma is not going to be pretty. It's a story about uncovering your truths, and it gives you a lot to think about, which makes it really fitting that our main character is a pathological liar. Susumu Nakoshi is easily my favorite protagonist in anything I've ever read. There's an incredible amount of care and detail put into his character, even from the beginning. He is a man defined by lies and contradictions. He's homeless, but wears a fancy suit. He eats with the homeless in a park, but purges the food they give him afterwards. He lives in his car, in between the nicest hotel in the city and the park full of homeless. After being laid off, he is not ready to integrate into the world full of homeless. He views himself as better than that, despite already being one of them. Most of the story is following him and trying to understand what happened in his past to make him the way that he is. That's one of the central mysteries running throughout the story, and it constantly keeps you guessing with new pieces of info here and there. And by the end, the arc that Nakoshi goes through is tragic, to say the least. This story will make you grow to hate the protagonist, but the scary thing is you can come to understand and even relate to him more often than not. Nakoshi is not a reliable narrator. Like I said earlier, he's a pathological liar. This leads most readers to come out of the story with different interpretations or meanings behind the story. Pretty interesting stuff if you ask me. The side characters that Nakoshi interacts with are almost just as important as he is. As he is interacting with them and helping them with their trauma, all of them go through these really satisfying arcs, and in one way or another, they are all reflections of Nakoshi's trauma. Their character arcs are directly tied to the main characters, adding an inherent level of connection to these characters, and also progressing the story at the same time. The manga spends a lot of time developing and fleshing out its characters, more so than almost any other manga I've ever read. It's not very fast-paced either. A lot of the time is spent just with characters talking to each other. For a manga that is so reliant on its dialogue to progress the story, I'm happy to say that the dialogue is intriguing as hell. There are entire volumes that are just a conversation between 2 characters, and it is some of the most fascinating shit this manga has to offer. And one character in particular gets an especially wholesome arc in a manga that's otherwise extremely dark. Another thing that's so great about this manga is the art. I praised Yamamoto's art in my Ichi the Killer video, and as Homunculus was published after Ichi, the art here is even better. Ichi the Killer's art style was a bit more cartoony and rounded to complement its more over-the-top moments. But Homunculus is a manga that tries very hard to be grounded, so the art is nearly photorealistic sometimes. Yamamoto has a clear understanding of proportions, perspective, and how to distort these things to make these crazy-looking panels that no other author could do. There are so many shots in this manga of characters just sitting, and the artwork can really portray just how they're feeling at any given time. The designs of these trauma forms look like they're straight out of a Junji Ito manga. A girl composed of sand, shifting and changing depending on the situation she's in. A man stuck inside of a giant egg, escaping his responsibilities, and even his own face. Just like Ichi the Killer, dark tones and shadows are used to great effect. The art is often beautiful and it makes these characters feel more real because of it. And when it's sad, it's really, really sad. After reading this manga sent me on an existential rut that I don't think I'm even out of today. Some people will read this manga and come out of it thinking it's no more than pseudo-intellectual garbage. But personally, I think it has a lot to say on human nature, selfishness and narcissism, feelings of isolation and loneliness, and what it means to be human. This manga definitely isn't for everyone. But I think that's a good thing. Not all stories have to pander to every single person who experiences them. And if a story's gonna break boundaries, of course that's gonna push people away. If you really think I've spoiled anything in this video, trust me, just read the manga. If it sounds interesting to you, I highly suggest you give it a shot. Maybe you'll even come out of it thinking a new way about yourself or the people around you. I'd say my only major complaint with this manga is Volume 5. There's a pretty long rape scene that turns most people off from the manga. It's overall really weird, and it's the only instance I'd say of bad writing in this manga. Following that scene is one of the most compelling, well-written parts of the story, but it's completely understandable when people don't want to read after that. Like the video if you did, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Whether it be manga reviews or video game stuff, I have some great content coming up for the next few weeks. This has been Speaker, so thanks for the video.